Brain? Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, turn me down just a little bit, little echo on 2. Yeah, there you go, exactly. All right, afternoon one and all. And we're going to continue in our mental health series here with accepting personal responsibility. This is a hard topic to talk about because everyone wants to consider themselves being responsible. And sometimes we're not. And sometimes we don't see the nuances or the little small things that go on that causes us not to be responsible. So in this particular topic, I really want to get to the nuts and bolts of some things to help us to gain the level of acceptance of having that personal responsibility for our actions and our behaviors. Okay, so this is what I always do in my medical disclaimer. All content in this presentation is for informational purposes only. It is not intended to substitute professional medical advice and should not be relied on as health or personal advice. Always seek the guidance of your doctor or qualified health professional with any questions regarding your health or a medical condition. Never disregard the advice of a medical professional or delay in seeking it because of something discussed in this presentation. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor, go to the nearest hospital emergency department, or call the emergency services immediately. If you rely on any information provided, you do so solely at your own risk. All right, now, I always like doing surveys. Surveys kind of, for me, is a thing to kind of get the wheels turning a little bit. So in this particular survey, this quiz provides you with the opportunity to determine your level of personal responsibility in several different areas to see where you may have a problem accepting personal responsibility. Let's begin. Number 1, do you blame others for the life you have today? Is it all the time, sometimes, once in a while, or never? So you can just answer that in your head. Don't say it out loud, okay? All right, question 2. Do you make excuses when something goes wrong? Is that all the time, sometimes, once in a while, or never? Question 3. Do you let others, your family, friends, etc., make choices for you in your own life? Is that all the time, sometimes, once in a while, or never? Question 4. Do you ever feel sorry for yourself? Is that all the time, sometimes, once in a while, or never? Question 5, do you feel that you need others to recognize and accept you? Is that all the time? Is that sometimes, once in a while, or never? Question 6, do you seek approval from others? Question 7, do you complain about things that don't go your way? Question 8, do you find yourself judging others or pointing out what other people are doing wrong? Question 9, do you feel that you have little or no control over your life? Question 10, do you feel that you cannot control anything that happens to you? Now, that's just a little teaser here, okay? So I want you to kind of just think about that, let that marinate a little bit. Now, what does the Bible say about accepting personal responsibility? You'd be kind of intrigued to know. Proverbs 28:13, he that covereth his sins shall not prosper, but whoso confesseth and forsake them shall have mercy. Proverbs 12:22, lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but they that deal truly are his delight. Job 19:4, and be it indeed that I have erred, my error remaineth with myself. That means that's accepting that I did it wrong, okay? And I need to try to fix it. Ezra 10:4, arise, for this matter belongeth unto thee. We also will be with thee. Be of good courage and do it. And Galatians 6:5, for every man shall bear his own burden. Now, let's really get to the meat and potatoes of the situation here. What is accepting personal responsibility? Accepting of personal responsibility includes, okay, I'll back up for you. It's Galatians 6:5, for every man shall bear his own burden. Now, acknowledging that you are solely responsible for the choices in your life. Accepting that you are responsible for what you choose to feel and think. Accepting that you choose the direction for your life. Accepting that you cannot blame others for the choices you have made. Tearing down the mask of defense or rationale for why others are responsible for who you are, what has happened to you, and what are you bound to become. Let me read that again. Tearing down the mask of defense or rationale. In other words, sometimes we can make something rational that's not rational. You know that, right?
We can make something rational and irrational.
Yes. For other. Yeah, we could do, it's vice versa. We can go either way with it. It's because a lot of times, because in our own little feeble minds, that's what we really want. And so we'll make an excuse for that. So tearing down that mask of defense or rationale for why others are responsible for who you are, what has happened to you, and what you are bound to become. The rational belief that you are responsible for determining who you are and how your choices affect your life. Pointing the finger of responsibility back to yourself and away from others when you are discussing the consequences of your actions. In other words, you take in what you do. Realizing that you determine your feelings about any events or actions addressed to you, no matter how negative they seem. Recognizing that you are the best cheerleader. It is not reasonable or healthy for you to depend on others to make you feel good about yourself. And that's the thing about feelings that we talked about in the last couple sessions a while back. Feelings are fickle, ladies and gentlemen. And I use this all the time. And Jonathan will tell you I use it all the time. I can make you feel any kind of way if I really want to. If I tell everybody here from now on that if you come to church for the rest of the year or whatever the case may be, I'm going to give you $100, again, y'all beat me to church. Okay? And then as soon as it doesn't happen, then you're going to feel a certain way. But like, because you said, you promised. So, well, that's the thing. Some people don't have that kind of philosophy as of yet. So when you have that level of spiritual maturity, yeah, that wouldn't really keep like, well, I don't put stock in that. But there are people that you don't realize or not need other people to make them go. No, if for example, Jonathan, and you said, if I said to you, man, I don't like you no more, you would like you might fall apart. Okay, some people are like, I wouldn't care less. Okay, but there are some people, folks, that you got to realize when you interact, like Brother Daniel said when he said today about relationships, is how your relationships with how you interact with people could be devastating or wonderful, of how you see them and how you want them to see them and how you really see them and how you really need to see how God sees them, put it that way. That will make the difference of how your relationships really would go with people. All right. Recognizing that you enter adulthood and maturity, you determine how your self-esteem will develop. Not feeling sorry for the bum deal you have been handed, but taking hold of your life and giving it direction and reason. Boy, I tell you, a lot of people can make excuses about things, can't they? Well, this didn't happen this way. Woe is me. I grew up hard, and I didn't have this. Sometimes not having something or not having nothing actually makes you have something. Sometimes not having nothing makes you cherish what you do have. Now, sometimes some people take it to the street and go into hoarding. That's a whole nother subject. But sometimes just being happy for what you have can make the determinations that when you do have something, it makes you a better steward.
Can you define a little bit more about the not feeling sorry? Right?
Okay. Now, what's your specific question? But I can give you, but is there a specific? Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So what I said, for those who didn't hear, I was asking for you to define a little bit more about the not feeling sorry for the bum deal.
Okay.
Because of the simple fact, there is a reality because of the bum deal of the life that you have, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's being aware of that, right?
Okay.
Whether or not, you, for example, myself, I can't talk about anybody else, like myself.
Okay.
I did not ask to be raised in Newark, New Jersey. I did not ask to be brought up in the projects, to be poor, right? To be exposed to what I was exposed to, right? And so there was a lot of hardship to get to the point where I am now. And in that hardship, I expressed how terrible things were, right? I still do. But so, explain more so about the not feeling
use the same
sorry.
example you said. Okay, yeah. Say growing up, when you said you grew up in the project and you see all the stuff, you see the stuff that just go down. You could have been a product of the environment. You could have said, hey, you know what, I'm gonna do what everybody else does and move forward. And you can say, you know what, and then say, for example, you got a 15-year jail sentence. And then you say, see, I'm a product of the environment. Because I used that one was getting. No, that's not an excuse. And then you start feeling sorry for yourself. But it's the fact that you made the choices, but you made the correct choices in your life right there today to be where you are sitting here. So most people get in there and they say, oh, woe is me. See, I don't have this. I don't have the money that Jay may have. I don't have this. And start getting down and dirty with it and start feeling like, oh man, I'll never be whatever.
So, I guess here's me, playing the devil's advocate.
Okay, let's let it ride. Let's go.
All right. So for people like me, I was able to be exposed to some aspects of what the world had to offer. There were many people that were my neighbors who did not have that opportunity. And because they did not have the opportunities, or the opportunities were there, but it wasn't exposed in their face, shining neon lights, right? It was the fact that they probably saw a commercial about Ireland, but never realized that they can go to Ireland, right? And so I really do believe that the product of your environment or the bum deal that you have is partially your environment. It's for some people it's more than partially.
It's all.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I'm just still kind of, and I don't want to hold up the whole presentation.
No. This is good.
Yeah, I don't want to hold up the whole presentation, but I really look at. I was a part of an intervention with a little girl one time, right? Well, she wasn't little at the time, but we were talking about how she was acting at 18, 19 years old. And the problem with the way she was acting at 18, 19 years old was because of the simple fact she was trying to get something that her parents never gave her growing up. And now she's acting out. And because she's 18, 19 years old, she has to suffer the consequences of her actions, but she doesn't know any better, right? And so is it really her fault, or is it the fault of her environment?
Well, it's a combination of a lot of things. Remember now, we just said earlier, it's also the choices that you make too. In spite of that, we can't use, when it says not feeling sorry, you can't use it as an excuse to say you can't do better. You got to choose to want to do better. Okay, you chose to do better where you are, to have where you are right now, in spite of the environment you come in. Okay, let's bring it home. Okay, you talk about Brick City. I grew up in Brooklyn. By the time I was 9 years old, I saw stuff that I shouldn't have even saw. Okay, I was out here literally. When people used to play numbers, I was a dude that used to go run the numbers, and then I get money for running the numbers. Who was at 9 years old should be doing that kind of stuff? You know what I'm saying? So I can't say because of that I didn't become better. I could have said, but instrumental, my parents saw all what was going on and said, hey, this is not the environment that I want any of my children with them. And they moved and came to South Carolina. So that's probably was a saving grace for me. Yeah. So, but
all the other people who did not have parents like you.
Right.
Right? And I think that's where, I agree completely with statement number 2, right? But I do think there's another side of that people do not talk about. Yeah. For those who really do not have the people in their life, the education, the exposure to what life is like. For example, like when I went to the Navy, right? When I went to the Navy, I was chilling in Greece and talking to one of the waitresses, and she asked me where I'm from, and I could not wait. I'm in Greece. Before then, we went to England, right? Mm-hmm. And I was having a great time, but I could not wait to get to the streets of Newark, New Jersey because of the mindset that I had, right? And even though I was exposed to the world, I was trapped mentally in Newark. And for a lot of people, they're trapped mentally because they don't have
the people, resources, or somebody take time, or that person, he or she doesn't make the effort to get themselves out the gutter.
Yes.
Yeah, I got what you're saying. You're. But I just wanted to make sure. But we know we have to remember there are always choices that he or she makes. Always. Now, always. Sometimes we don't see them. Sometimes they blatantly in our face and we still can't see them. Sometimes they are far off. We got to attain to them and reach them. But once we get there, we're there. Good question, though. Letting go of your sense of over-responsibility for others. I've seen that happen too many times. Protecting and nurturing your health and emotional well-being. Taking preventative health-oriented steps of structuring your life with time management, stress management, confronting fears, and burnout prevention. In other words, taking care of yourself whole 360, okay? Mind, body, and soul. Taking an honest inventory of your strengths, abilities, talents, virtues, and positive points. Developing positive, self-affirming, self-talk scripts to enhance your personal development and growth. Sometimes we got to talk to ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, ma'am.
I want to say something about what Uncle Wilson said too. But I do believe, I heard what he was saying. We do make choices, but some choices we did not make. So it is deeper than what he's saying, because we do also have to look at the fact, why are there people that are so poor and so destitute in a country that in a country that is so rich? We do have to take that into consideration too. It's not an excuse. And I do believe that through Jesus, things can turn around, but it does come down to what choices you make. Because, brother, at least you had a bathroom to go to. I lived in a house that you didn't even have to go outside to see it was daylight. You could just look up through the holes in the ceiling. So it comes down to how bad is bad, But the question comes down to why is it like that in a land of plenty? So that question, I believe that when the United States answers or corrects that problem, and I do believe it can be corrected, if we can spend trillions of dollars on war, that brother right there does not need to be at transitions. The people that are on the street should not be on the street. So this is a problem with the United States.
Yeah, and that gets into social economics, so that's a
I
whole.
just
that's a
wanted to
whole
come back and
nother-
say
yeah,
that
that's a
those
whole
things,
nother- that's a
that
whole
is
nother
a whole,
destitute.
but
Yeah.
it is part
But
of the
there
problem.
are other countries who actually do the total opposite of what you just said. They literally, okay.
It did me,
Right, right.
because when I was sitting at home, we did have a little TV, and I used to watch Young and Restless. And I said, I mean, I wasn't gonna dance on no pole, but I said, if the lady that danced on the pole can marry the richest man in Genoa City, because I do remember Genoa City, right? Then I'm not supposed to be sitting here on Highway 112 having to carry my water almost a half mile. So it became my goal. I think it was a goal, I don't know. I just knew that there was better, and I wanted better. And I wanted better for my mother as well.
So you challenge yourself. See, that's the whole part about personal responsibility. Sometimes you got to challenge yourself. You know, even when you don't even see it sometimes.
I don't know that I challenged myself, or I just wanted it so bad that I just took the first opportunity.
Why you wanted something? Is that not a challenge?
Well, I don't know. I could have been the one dancing on the pole.
Well, either way, it was a challenge. You just chose the right thing for you.
Yeah, I made some good choices.
Right, exactly. Good point, though. Letting go of blame and anger towards those in your past who did the best they could, given the limitations of their knowledge, background, and awareness. Now, I'm going to explain that to you. I'm going to give you a situation here so you can understand this. I had a situation where two parents, they had developmental disabilities, okay, and they had a son. The son, of course, wound up being okay and was smarter than the parents. Okay, so when the son wanted to be a little naughty here and there, and they knew the parents didn't know whatever, they would do certain things because they knew that the parents didn't know. Okay, which is totally wrong because they know their parents are limited. But I've seen the reverse where because of that, they want them getting themselves, and this is how the situation ends, they want them getting themselves in trouble. And because they got them in trouble, that same parent who was limited was the one that got them out. And then so they was like trying to be, well, how do you know how to do X, Y, Z, da, 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 da. But then they realized, you know what? I shouldn't have even put my parents in that situation. And they wound up changing their whole life because of that. So you can't, again, we all are dealt with some vices or whatever the case may be, but we can't use that because they didn't know or because whatever. We have to make some choices and want to do better. Okay. Did it? So I'm trying to see what just happened here. Yeah. Right. So, yes, go ahead.
What about that verse where it says in the Bible where God has dealt to every man a measure of faith?
It's like anything else. If you don't practice it, how would it ever get any better? It's like
Or if you don't even know that. Suppose you don't know that. I didn't know that until I was in my 20s.
But eventually, God lets everybody know. Eventually, He has to because He's loving and fair. He's got to have to. So a lot of times, the things that when you're looking at the level of faith, it could be, because we're looking at it from where we at from a spiritual aspect. Most of the world's not going to see it that way. The world's going to see it like, okay, I got an opportunity to make $100. I'm gonna do what I need to do to make this $100. Yes, sir.
I was just listening to what she said. She didn't know about God till she was 20. I was kind of in the same predicament. When I was 20 years old, if you'd asked me who Moses was, I wouldn't have been able to tell you.
Man down the street?
And just one day, I just said, God listened to you. I just said, it got to be a better way to live than the way I'm living,
Talk in the mic.
because I was doing all type of things that shouldn't have been done. And about 2 weeks later, one of my dad's childhood friends came up to me and gave me a card. He said, "Here, I know what you're doing. Don't lie to me. Go to Atlanta. Here's a job for you." And that was a prayer, and I didn't even know it. And it changed my whole life. So God is trying to reach all of us. And we don't know it, but he's trying to reach us, because he reached me, and I was a hard-headed boy.
Amen to that.
But see, even you saying there has to be a better way than this, I think goes back to what Sister Wynette was saying about God has given to every man a measure of faith. Even though you don't recognize it, and you didn't recognize it and know it as faith in God, you knew that there had to be something better than that. And I think that speaks to what you were saying, Sister Wynette. God has given to every man a measure of faith.
And then also, too, to take the one step further, God realizes or sees you trying. Sometimes when he sees you try, he will put something where if they're really trying, let me see if they're going to trust me enough to do it.
Or somebody.
Yep.
Put somebody in your path that sees the potential.
Yep. And somebody's going to plant this seed, and that'll be that person who's planting the seed that actually get you where you need to be, or where he really wants you to be. And sometimes all of us go through tests in life. That's just a part of the grand scheme of things. But if he sees, this is my opinion, if he sees you trying to really do something, and you sincere, he'll put situations in aspects that you would have never thought of. That, how did this happen? Where did this come from? I would have never thought of this. And boop, it's right there. Just something to think about.
But you've got to give them something to work with. You can't be going out there holding people up and thinking that somebody's going to come and help you. You've got to show some potential.
That's true. Now, how can failing to accept personal responsibility result in negative consequences?
It gets you in jail.
Okay, you run the risk of doing this. That's one. But overly dependent on others for recognition, approval, affirmation, and acceptance. In other words, you're looking for other people to say, "Dang, you the bomb. Dang, you the man. You know exegesis. I never would learn that." Okay, so sometimes we look for that. Some people literally feed off that. Overly dependent on the recognition of that, chronically hostile, angry, or depressed over how unfairly you have been or being treated. Oh, woe is me. Everybody just got me out on their target list. Everybody doing me wrong.
Waste of time and effort.
Mm-hmm. Fearful about ever taking a risk or making a decision. Overwhelmed by disability fears. It's like, I can't do it. I just try it. It just makes me so nervous. Unsuccessful at the enterprises you take on in life. You just feel that every time I do something, you have what's called the un-Midas touch. Okay? Like, seems like you touch it, everything, it tears up. Pow! Okay? Unsuccessful in personal relationships. It was always the other person's fault. They was the one that was doing something wrong. Emotionally or physically unhealthy. Addicted to unhealthy substances such as the abuse of alcohol, drugs, food, or unhealthy behavior such as excessive gambling, shopping, sex, smoking, work, etc.
Waste of time and money.
Yes, ma'am. Say what now?
How about coffee?
Well, coffee has caffeine, but if you find yourself, you can't do it in moderation, okay.
Where's your mic? Because we can't hear you. Where's your
say that one
mic?
more time. Yeah, she got it right there.
I'm talking about my friends. They always have to have a cup of coffee all the time in the morning.
Well, that's
They
addiction,
depend-
for sure.
It's addiction.
That's addiction, for sure. Okay.
It may not be an addiction.
Well, it
They
depends
just
on.
may like coffee.
Here's the thing. Okay, coffee. Well, I ain't gonna get into this. It's a whole nother subject. In moderation. Yeah, that's the key.
You can't have something without having a mental and physical change in body.
It's an addiction. Like, okay, for example, let's the coffee, and I ain't gonna worry. Okay, if they say to me, don't talk to me till I get my cup of coffee, that's a problem. That's a problem. Don't.
He may be just joking. He may be just joking.
Well, I don't joke like that. I don't joke like that. Okay, I'm like, if I find myself, hey, I'm gonna tell you, don't even talk to me. Don't talk to me until I watch my TV program or anything else, whatever. Don't talk to me. Don't ask me no questions, no whatever. You ask me that, look at you might not get a nice answer. Wait till I finish doing all that, then you can talk to me later. Okay.
That still ain't an addiction. You just respect the person and let them watch their show. Not an addiction.
No, I know I stretched it a little bit, but I'm just saying the concept. Yes,
Or
ma'am.
they may just not be a morning person because, whether it has nothing to do with coffee, talking to me very early in the morning is probably not the best thing to do.
Okay, you're just not a morning person.
I'm not
okay?
a morning person.
Hey, I can accept. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, but they say, hey, you get to work and it's 8:35, and everybody like you see everybody gather around, they talking with their coffee, or whatever, and you say, hey, so you got a question you need to ask? They be like, hey, you need to come back like 9:15 when I finish drinking my coffee, then you ask me that question. Then that's a problem. Okay, however you can dress it, that's a problem. Okay. Over-responsible and guilt-ridden in your needs to rescue or enable others in your life. In other words, you got to always try to find somebody to save. Okay? You feel, oh, something wrong with them, I'm not going to save him. There's nothing wrong with them. That might be what they like. I'm coming from the expression from old school. You like it, I love it. Okay? Because that's what you want. All right? Unable to develop trust or to feel secure with others. Okay, let's go back up here. Over-responsible and guilt-ridden in your need to rescue or enable others in your life. Okay, the concept of the enablers is this. You're always doing something for somebody than what they can do for themselves. So it's nothing wrong with empowering someone. If I say, Jay, hey man, Jason, I'm looking for a job. I say, hey man, I'm gonna give you all the whatever the case may be, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, or whatever. Hey, but you got to fill out applications, yada, yada, yada. And he says, oh, I can't find no job. Did you fill out applications? Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to get to that. Oh, don't worry about it, I'll do it for you. So who did the job, him or me? Okay, that's enabling. But I've empowered him and telling him the resources, but he got to get up off of it and do it. Most people, this is where they go wrong when they enable someone. Somebody says, oh, I can't do this, and whatever the case may be, I need you to help me. And then here you go running to do them because you say, oh, I know they need that, they can't do that. You don't know what a person gonna do until you challenge them.
True that.
Sometimes some people need to be challenged. How they ever gonna get better if you keep doing it for them? Or they're going to see you as what you do for them. Oh, why that? Oh, why that good, man? Why that she done help me this, got my groceries, I ain't had no money, put gas in the car. I'm like, I'll ride with you too. You do all that. That's enabling, okay? And some people, and then when they realize that, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Why did I give her gas money? She got a job better than I do. Then now you start feeling bad about yourself. I could have took that money, I could have did something else with it. I could have paid a bill with it. But no, I did that thinking they
So they do that because they're guilt-ridden?
Yeah, because sometimes you wasted money and time on a person that didn't really need that. And now you feel bad. Like, man, I could have took that $50 and did something else with it.
That person is a taker and you're a giver.
They didn't make you feel a certain way. Then sometimes you really can get mad with yourself. Like, ooh, okay. So that's what it means. It's nothing wrong with empowering people, but don't enable them. Okay? When you empower a person, that means that person has the choice. And you do it, you just took the choice from them. They're going to rely on you to do it all the time.
And sometimes enabling a person means that you do better and be the example that they should be, and then they will see you doing better, and then they will start to do better. That was my whole game plan. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. I don't care if y'all don't do what y'all supposed to do, but don't get mad with me because I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do.
Resistant to invulnerability. That means, I don't want to change. I don't want to get better. I just, where I'm at.
I'm going to do what the crowd do. Knock yourself out. Don't expect me to do that.
Okay, so my next question here. What do people believe who have not accepted personal responsibility? These are the thought patterns I'm going to really share with you of people who feel that they don't have to have no responsibility. I want you to look at this. It's not my fault. I'm the way I am. Like Danny said, I'm a product of the environment. Okay? I never asked to be born.
And they're on their way down to get their tenant check.
Now that you have me, what are you going to do with me? I'm sorry, me and John got a running joke, y'all. But you're like, okay, now you don't, especially in relationships, man. You don't work all okay. Now you're like, man, what I saw this person. We're not gonna go there. Okay, I'm gonna be good. I want you to fix me.
Good luck.
Life is unfair. It is. It can be. Well, let's go back to that. If life's unfair, you know what? This is what I tell myself a lot. Why not you? What make you supposed to be different from anybody else?
Yeah, the Bible says all have sinned.
Yeah, so what make you think I'm supposed to not go through something? Okay? If I ain't going through something ain't right. Okay?
This world is unfair.
Exactly. Why go on? I see no use in it. You can't help me. Nobody can help me. I'm useless and a failure. God has asked too much of me this time. There is no way I ever be able to handle this. Oh, do you know, boy, folks, you don't realize God get put in a lot of stuff he had nothing to do with.
That's what I'm saying. Now, how you get in it? How you put him in your mess?
It happens every day. When do the troubles and problems cease? I'm tired of all this. Well, trust me, I think I said that quite often. Stop the world. I want to get off. It's going too fast for me. I need to get off this ride right now. Okay. Life is so depressing. If only I had a better luck and had been born to a healthier family or attended a better school or gotten a better job, yada, 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 yada. I'm gonna tell you something my dad used to tell me, and I think about it now, it made a bunch of sense. My dad he wears handkerchiefs. He always has a handkerchief. And if something always go wrong, someone complain, you know what he used to do? He used to pull out a handkerchief and say, when you finish crying, then when you figure out what you're gonna do. He said, well, go ahead and get all that out, but you still gotta do something.
We all got handkerchiefs now.
Yeah, we got, yes. So, but yes, that was his thing. He would hand you his handkerchief. When you finish crying, okay, all right, what you gonna do now?
We would do this. World swallowed by litter.
Okay. But, wow,
That
okay.
part says,
Yes, ma'am.
will your troubles cease? It reminds me of David. He asks God, how many are the days of your servant? When wilt thou execute judgment on them that persecute me? I ask that same question too.
So you looking for revenge now. See, and that's what God said, revenge is mine, thus say the Lord, okay? And ain't you to be able to say, I wish something would happen to him with lightning, strike him down, pow. Nah. Yes, just do your thing. God will handle the rest. I'm telling you, you just do what you need to be able to do. You'll be surprised that I tell people, and this is a future one I'm gonna do later on, sometime this year. We're gonna talk about how to develop patience. I'm gonna have that long discussion with that too. Sometimes you just need to sit down and wait. Don't do nothing, just sit down and wait. You'll be surprised what you sit down and wait and you see what passes on, like, ooh. Oh, okay, that's how that went down. Ooh, okay, yeah, that's how that went down. Just wait. sometimes you just sit there and wait. You can see them come and you see them go. Trust me on that one. Yep, exactly. Just sit down and wait. Boy, you'd be surprised what you see. How can you say I'm responsible for what happens to me in the future? There is fate, luck, politics, greed, envy, wicked, and jealous people and other negative influences that have a greater bearing on my future than I have. I tell you right now, the devil's a lie on that one, okay? How can I ever be happy seeing how bad my life has been? My parents made me what I am today. The problem, now these are the thoughts of people who are thinking this way, okay? Not saying this, but these are the thought patterns, okay? I want to re-emphasize that. These are the thought patterns, okay? The problem in my family have influenced who I am and what I will be. There is nothing I can do to change that.
And as long as you think that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, here's a big one here. Racism, bigotry, prejudice, sexism, ageism, and closed-mindedness all stand in the way of my becoming what I really want to be. I knew that was going to be a controversy. I knew somebody was going to. Well, okay. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but do you know sometimes, what's the example I want to use? Okay, no, here's the example. Let's go back to the civil rights era for this example. When the bus situation and all that happened, you know that actuality, sometimes situations like that can actually make it better for society. That's a classic example of where somebody said, man, I'm tired of this, and actually made something better. So sometimes that is a part where a good thing where racism can actually make something better. Also, I tell people sometimes anger can motivate you to actually do better too. That if you see something, an injustice or something that is a travesty, that anger sometimes can be used to channel the direction to actually make something better for yourself and or for society.
But in the United States, they just changed the action plan so that what you did that made the situation better for that time, it might have looked better, but they planning for the long game to still keep people in what they perceive to be their place.
Right, but at the end of the day, you still, not to belittle the point, but still you gotta some things you just gotta look beyond. Give him a mic.
That was my job. And people did everything that they could do to prevent me from having that position. But God said, no, that's your position. And there was nothing that man could do to prevent that. So as Christians, we have to recognize that God is in control of our life, not the president in the White House, not the politicians, not the congressmen. It is God who's in control of my life.
But,
Amen.
okay, so I'm not a Christian. So some of those things still, everybody's not a Christian. God is still in control, whether I'm a Christian or not, but the non-Christian may not know that. So I'm speaking, I guess, for the non-Christian, and those things are true. Because we shouldn't have to, our qualifications should make it so there wouldn't be anybody stopping you in a perfect world. So in the United States, that's just how things are.
In the world, I would argue in the world that's the way things are. Because God tells us that the poor will be with us always. Why did he say the poor will be with us always? Because we live in a world of sin. He knows the hardness of man's heart. So he is telling us that there are going to be unjust conditions that exist until he comes. And as a non-Christian, growing up in a home with a father who was a non-Christian, he still made choices to help make his life as best as it could be. Like, he didn't make choices to go out and rob people. He made choices to work hard to support his family. So as a non-Christian, you still have choices that you have to make. But as a Christian, you understand that God is in control of your life. And it is not anything that anybody can do that controls that for you.
Yeah, the scripture
I
says,
still say, though, that in a country as rich as the United States, there shouldn't be, the poor will be with you always, but the rich are, but the wealth of the country should take care of the poor. That's why I say the United States is an example of what the world should not be.
Right. Yeah, let me get her point, then I want to move on here.
Who's talking?
No, she got a mic.
Oh, okay.
I say for Christians, we have to remember that verse in Proverbs 19. It says, many are the devices in the heart of man, but the counsel of the Lord, therefore that shall stand.
Yep.
That's why she got promoted. The counsels of the Lord.
Yeah. No matter how hard I work, I'll never get ahead. Somebody asked the question? Oh. You have to accept the luck of the draw. Okay. Okay. That's a, oh, okay. Go ahead.
So just looking at, this is the mindset of those who do not accept responsibility, right? Mm-hmm. I think the issue that I'm having is a lot of these things are true. Like, a lot of these things, if I was raised in a household where I was told all day long I was no good, I was sexually abused, it's no matter how good God is, my mentality, my identity, my understanding, my cognitive relationship with the world is that I am no good and I should be abused. And so the relationships I form, the things that I do, is based off of that.
Okay. I didn't say these things wasn't factual. I'm just pointing out the thought patterns. People think like this. Okay. So that's why I'm pointing this out, because there are people who actually think this way.
I'm trying to stretch my feet.
Right. But understand exactly what you're saying. That's why I'm pointing these out, because there are people thought patterns who literally think this way. Like the next one, I am who I am, and there's no change in me. Yeah, they think this way. So, brother, you're not, you right on spot, because the fact they think this way. Like I said, all of us in this room have a better opportunity to think, but it's a whole world out there who thinks just like this, and we're going to encounter people like this. What do you do like that?
So I'm thinking, and I'm trying not to jump ahead, so I'm thinking that we're going to talk now about how we can break that cycle. I mean, we're going to get to that.
Exactly.
Okay, so I will keep my comments.
Okay.
We're going there.
You're Johnny on the spot. Exactly. No one's going to call me crazy, depressed, or troubled, and then try to change me. Okay. Now, here's the next question. What terms are used to describe those who have not accepted personal responsibility? Look at this litany of terms here. Martyrs, self-pity, depressed, losers, quitters, chronically angry, dependent personalities, complainers, addictive personalities, blamers, stubborn, persons in denial, troubled people, stuck, fearful, persistent, despondent, mentally unstable, obstinate, hostile, aggressive, irresponsible, weak, guilt-ridden, resistant to passive, irrational, insecure, neurotic, obsessed, lost. Well, it depends on the situation. Sometimes we sacrifice ourselves for the wrong reasons for some people.
Well, I'm gonna go to jail because I was riding with my boyfriend and he ran and left me with the car full of drugs.
Well, there you go. See, that's where you need to drop down. Okay, so that's an unnecessary martyr. Okay, so sometimes we be martyred for people for no reason. Like me and John were cool. Jonathan said, "Hey man, let's go whatever case it be." If I'm sitting here and Jonathan goes in and robs the bank, and he don't tell me nothing was on, because you don't hear South Carolina have a law of hands on, hands off. If he don't say, "Hey man, he ain't had nothing to do with it, man," he would I just like, guess what? Me and him both, and he better not be my cellmate, okay? Because I'm gonna have a reason why I'm gonna be one of them staying in there, okay? But to say all this, these are the things that describe the people. And again, it goes back to the thought patterns. And these thought patterns, and then remember now, you have to remember your thoughts and your actions are synonymous. If you're thinking a certain way, you're going to behave a certain way. You're behaving a certain way because you're thinking a certain way. So these people come up with these terminology, they're thinking this way. Okay?
And they think they're right.
Right. Now, we're going to get to the real meat and the crux of this. What behavior traits can be developed in order to accept personal responsibility? In order to accept personal responsibility, you develop the ability to seek out and accept help for yourself. There are sometimes pride before the fall. Sometimes you have to ask for help. You cannot do everything by yourself. You have to ask, okay? Be open to new ideas or concepts about life and the human condition. In other words, just because something happens, and it happens, you got to look at, okay, I can do something better, but I got to figure out what's the idea that I need to do better. Then once I figure that out, then you got to implement it. Refute irrational beliefs and overcome fears. And that's hard to do sometimes, especially because we don't know what the outcome may be. But sometimes you may have to just, I'm gonna overstep that boundary, and I'm just gonna just do what needs to be done. Affirm yourself positively. Tell yourself, hey, I'm gonna do this, we're gonna get over this, we're gonna self-talk. Self-talk is pertinent, folks. And one day I'm gonna have to put that together too, but I just come with a bunch of ideas now. But yeah, sometimes you have to talk to yourself in a positive manner. You gotta say, hey, you know what? Hey, I'm gonna get through. Yeah, it might look whatever, but no, I'm gonna go through this. I'm gonna be overcome.
Between lying to yourself and
Yeah, the worst lie you ever can tell to yourself. Okay. Recognize that you are the sole determinant of the choices you make. Recognize that you choose your responses. And I do say responses to the people, action, and events in your life. Now let me see if y'all really thinking. What's the difference between a reaction and a response?
a reaction is negative, a response is positive, in that you're responding to the individual in a non-threatening or
Okay. All right, that's scratching the surface. Okay.
It's something that's done without me.
That's what I'm looking for. It's emotional. Somebody says something, okay, there you go, that's it. That's it. Versus you respond as a human being, you have the capacity to think or say before you do something. That's the difference.
And it's normally irrational.
Right, because you had the chance 30 seconds to think about something before you said it or before you did it. That's the difference, right? So that's why I want to make sure, I want to clear that up. Most reactions are emotional.
So you say responses, you're more not emotional?
Yes, you're rational. You thought it through before you said it.
And the response can be simply walking away, knowing that any other thing that you do might be a reaction.
Yeah, if you see that coming, until you, take a deep breath, count 10. Yeah, this basic anger management stuff, hey, count 10, walk away, and then respond. Okay, so that's the difference, respond. Let go of anger, fear, blame, mistrust, insecurity. Take a risk and become vulnerable to change and grow in your life? Take off the mask of behavior characteristics behind which you hide low self-esteem. Reorganize your priorities and goals. That's what a lot of times people get trouble at because they have no direction. Realize that you are the party in charge of the direction your life takes. Now, let's really get into some practical steps how you can really do this. Okay, what are the steps to actually accept the personal responsibility? Step number one, to decide if you're having problems accepting personal responsibility, I want you to answer the following question to yourself. Just keep them to yourself in your head. How frequently do you claim that others have determined what you are today? How easy is it to accept that you are responsible for choices in your life? How easy it is to believe that you determine the direction your life takes? How easy it is to blame others for where you are today? What makes you hide behind to avoid accepting personal responsibility? How rational are you in dealing with the part you played in being who you are today? How easy it is to accept blame or admit mistakes? Now, that's a biggie for a lot of people. Can't tell. How easy is it to accept blame or admit mistakes? You know, a lot of times people can, when a mistake is made, they can use rationale to show that they didn't make the mistake. No, so you're looking at it wrong. This is what happened.
It's actually their fault. I didn't do it.
Okay, that's one excuse. Okay, also too is the fact that they didn't want to sometimes take the blame that they even made a mistake. And that's tricky within itself, because if you don't recognize you're making mistakes, sometimes some mistakes happen for you to actually get better, actually to grow.
When I go to bed at night, I always pray, and the Lord brings back to my mind things I should have done. So we definitely need the Holy Spirit to do all this, because we're born in sin. We're very selfish.
Correct. How easy is it to accept that you determined your feelings when negative events occur? In other words, you get into your feelings and ooh, Jonathan, they just don't know, boy. They say, boy, they just don't know. Man, your fists be balled up, ready to go, okay? How easy is it to depend solely on yourself for acceptance, affirmation, and approval? How willing are you to be the sole determinant of health of your self-esteem? How frequently do you feel sorry for yourself? How easy is it to let go of guilt if you stop rescuing those in your life? How willing do you take preventive steps to ensure your physical and emotional health? How successful have you practiced self-affirmation in your life? How successful have you practiced anger, workout, or letting go in order to get on with your life? Some people are anger balls, just walking around, just holding stuff. And sometimes you might be the victim of it. You say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing. All right, step number 2. This is a rating scale. Rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 5 as the level of personal responsibility you have accepted in each of the following areas, okay? And let's look at these areas real quick. Taking the preventive and maintenance measures to ensure physical health. How often do you exercise? How often do you do things that actually helps you? How often do you do things that, that helps with your emotional health? In other words, okay, do I do the things that helps me relax? Do I do the things do I sit here and just dwell on stuff? Do I sit here and just think about how I can't stand so-and-so? Okay, those kind of things. What about taking control of your weight and overeating? Things that, hey, some people, they're on that seafood diet. Y'all know what seafood diet is, right? You eat it. Exactly. Okay. other things here: eating, excessive drinks, drugs, gambling, shopping, sexual behaviors. See, ladies, that's a whole nother subject there. That I'm not going to even touch that one. Controlling workaholism. So there's some people who work 8 hours a week because they got to get it, Jonathan. They got to have it. Okay, so I want that lifestyle, whatever case may be. I'm gonna work this, whatever. I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna move forward. I have known people who, matter of fact, some family and friends that when I grew up with, they've been working at the place for 40 years. And they still in their 70s and still working 12-hour shifts. I'm like, for what? I'm like, your house is paid for, you got 2 or 3 cars that's paid for. Why are you working that hard? At 70 and still working a graveyard shift 12 hours a day. What else do you want? I can't fathom that. You know, what else do you want? You working that hard. What else you need? I don't know. Okay? Taking a preventive and maintenance measure on healthy relationships. There's some relationships with people, we just got to cut them off because they ain't no good. I can tell you that. There's some people who you got to let them figure their own selves out, and you just got to step back. Taking the necessary steps to overcome my current problems and troubles. Taking the necessary steps to protect myself from being victimized by rescuing or enabling others. Okay? Managing my time, my stress in my life, overcoming my fears, and preventing burnout in my life. Now, here's a rating score. If you find yourself a rating of 3 or less in any of these areas, indicates there's a need to accept personal responsibility. That's just a kind of overall map here. Now, step 3, identify your beliefs that prevent acceptance or responsibility for yourself. Develop a new rational replacement belief that helps you accept responsibility for yourself. In other words, you don't never take away something and just leave it empty. You replace something with it. Because if you don't replace something with it that's positive, guess what you're going to go back to doing? The same thing that you think it works. Just like, for example, if I say I got to lose 20 pounds in 6 months, that's realistic, isn't it? You don't go ahead and say, I'm trying to lose 50 pounds in 2 months. That's unrealistic. If you say 20 pounds, 6 months, you can rationalize and say, hey, you know what? If I lose 2 pounds a month, that'll get me pretty much close to it, wouldn't it? That's a real, kind of more, 1 or 2 pounds here and there, but that's much more realistic. But you got to replace that. Okay, if I've eaten this, if I like Oreo cookies, either I got to find a substitute for Oreo cookies, or I need to eat some crackers or something, or I might say, Lauren, you got to help me out, Kagera, because I don't know what to do. You got to help. But she said, well, what you do? Eat? Oh, yeah, I might have to try that. I mean, celery. I got to try something. I got to do something. I got to replace. When I take away something, I got to replace it with something positive. If I don't replace it with nothing positive, guess what I'm going to do? Soon as somebody say something to me, soon as somebody look at me, soon as I get a little bit of stress, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to do that what's comfortable for me. Because that's all I know. That's all I know. So you got to take that away, put something positive into that. Because if you don't, somebody look at you wrong. What you looking at me for? And for me not to say something, let me go put this cookie in my mouth so I don't say the wrong thing to the person. Okay? So you got to develop a new rational replacement belief that helps you take the responsibility for yourself. Step 4, now you're ready to develop a plan of action. For each area of your life, identify the tools you will use to accept personal responsibility. So road map it out. I tell people journaling is a very good process, folks. There's nothing wrong with having a notebook and writing things down and processing things. It's how many of you all have a budget that you write down with a budget? That you write down, okay? Do you know it's a good tracking mechanism? Because some people's like, okay, why my checkbook and the bank statements don't match? because you got no tracking record. So journaling actually helps you to track things much easier. Okay, I challenge you for 1 week, just get a sheet of paper and just write down whatever you're thinking about each day. Just write it down and come back and read it at the end of the week. I guarantee you'll come back and say, why was I thinking like this? It didn't make any sense. Because you develop a bad pattern. Now, once you see that, go back and challenge that pattern, that thought. What was the use of me thinking that way? What did it got me? What is it gonna add up to? Nothing. So I challenge you to write things when you find yourself thinking a certain way. Just write down, say, okay, at 2:15 I was thinking like I really want to slap so and so and so. Okay, that's fine. Write that down. And then come back and pick it apart later. Don't give it a day or two and pick it apart. And you will be amazed of how, if you do that you will find yourself not so reactionary. You'll really be processing, thinking things through. Now, step 5. If you still have trouble in accepting personal responsibility with yourself, return back to step 1 and start over. Okay, now, in closing, if you want a copy of this or anything else, whatever case may be, just shoot me an email. Also, too, I have a YouTube channel now that has all the mental health seminars that we've done actually on the channel. And I'm looking at trying to eventually probably expand the channel, because I probably will look at, I'm thinking about just doing like little 5-minute segments of this basic mental health stuff that people just deal with, like stress, grieving. So I'm looking at probably putting little shorts on that as well, just to kind of give people some sense of encouragement. So I'm still trying to connect that as well. All right. Any other comments, concerns, questions that you have? Anything that, was it beneficial? Was it helpful? Or if you have any ideas of what you feel that we need to discuss as a thing to help you, please let me know. You can email it to me, or we can whatever. That'll really help a whole lot as well. Now, my spoiler alert for next time we meet is that we're going to talk about how to deal with power and control. Power and control, how to handle that. Because there are people who love to flex their muscles as it relates to power and control over you. And we'll talk about how to really deal with that. Okay? All right, I thank you all for your time and participation. And we'll meet again next go around. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.